you cannot expect a woman to be a whole woman when she's got to also be a half a goddamn man. And what I mean by that is, in my life, in my relationship, in my marriage, I am not having any of my bills paid by a goddamn woman. Because women create the child inside of them. Their bodies go through immense changes. They have the child. And then, for at least the first 5 years of life, they're absolutely primarily going to be the ones taking care of it. And you know what? That's enough. That's definitely enough. And modern Western society expects women to do that or pawn the carrying of the kid off after about, 6 weeks on some minimum wage worker. And then for them to go out and earn a goddamn living and pay half the bills like they're a fucking man. Which is absolutely a ridiculous standard, so of course women are pissed the fuck off about that shit. I would be too. She's doing all the part of being a woman and has to do half of your friggin' job. But at a meta level, that's not even why they're really pissed off. See, deep down, they're pissed off because the men of Western society allowed this shit to happen. See, for the vast majority of human history, we were hunters and gatherers, a tribe of maybe 200-300 people following around. And of course you had your leaders. And the idea was that as long as there was enough stuff to kill and eat, everybody was happy. And now, year over year, modern people get better at making stuff, wealth. This cigar and this whiskey that I'm drinking is infinitely easier to be made today than it was 20 years ago or 80 years ago. And as things become easier to produce, they're supposed to become cheaper and more abundant and easier to get your hands on. Yet, for some reason, everything becomes harder. And whereas in 60, 70 years ago, one person in the relationship could work and the other could stay home, you could have a family and children and things and live a good life, that's out of reach now. It's a much harder life, even though there's more. So, it's the equivalent of our tribal leaders led us to a valley where there's more game than you can shake a stick at. There's more food than you could ever imagine. And where it used to take us 10 hours to go out and get an elk, now we can do it in 2. Where it used to take the gatherers all day to get a basket of berries, now they have 3 before morning is over. More food, more prosperity than ever, but for some reason there's less and less going around. And now, instead of thunk and ugh, and you and your other buddies going out to go and beat a saber-toothed tiger to death with a rock, now all of a sudden they're expecting your women to go out and do that too. And you go to your tribal leader and you go, I notice there's more food than ever and yet less to go around. What's going on with that? Why does my woman have to go out and face the dangers of hunting? And the tribal leader doesn't give you any real explanation. He just turns to you and goes, Thunk, you just hate your woman because you don't think that she can beat the saber-toothed tiger to death with a rock like you can. You're sexist. Now, the proper response to that from traditional men is not to say, oh, you're right, I'm sorry, or to go into some long, drawn-out argument on how that's incorrect. The proper response to that is to go, well, I don't know much about philosophy. I'm not that wise, but I definitely know when I'm being swindled. So what's going to happen now is, me and the other guys of the tribe are about to hit you in the head with a rock until you're dead. And then, we're going to get a new chief, And that new chief is going to make sure that I get more, or I'm going to hit him in the head with a rock and replace him until somebody else does. And that is the proper role of the average man in a society. Is when he's being swindled and obviously screwed, he doesn't need to know ideology. He doesn't need to know how economics work. He doesn't even need to know how to read. But what he is supposed to be able to do is rally to somebody who's going to change things when they're obviously being screwed and dish out horrible, swift, brutal violence to the elite leadership in society. However, victory has defeated the Western man. We have actually now something to lose because your ancestors had to look forward to backbreaking labor in the spring, followed by more backbreaking labor in the summer / being given a pointy stick to go stab other dudes with before they stabbed you. Even more backbreaking labor in the fall to bring in the harvest, and then probably freezing to death in the winter. So, if you screwed with him, he didn't have a whole hell of a lot to lose, so he'd kill you. And that's where the average man used to get respect from, was the fact that he was extremely dangerous, didn't have a lot to lose, and was more than happy to take life. But the modern man has lost that. And as a result, as we're slowly but surely ground down by institutions that we all know are corrupt deep down inside, we're also too afraid to do anything, because what are you going to do? Nothing will change, and you'll lose everything, what little you have. And women smell that shit on you. That's why all the little white kids from nowhere town America in the 1990s all wanted to be black thugs. Because they saw their pussy ass fathers with their little tie, white collar jobs, like something out of the friggin' Normies in Fight Club, and went, well, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be cucked. I don't want to be a friggin' weak loser. I want to be a feared man. What was the closest thing they had? Tupac. Biggie. Thug culture. That's why. That warrior spirit that's been put into them over the centuries doesn't just go away. Because now all of a sudden there isn't privation. And women being attracted to that kind of man doesn't just go away. So that's secretly, deep down, the meta reason on why women in general are so freaking pissed off. Because modern life and modern comforts have turned men into fucking pussies. And I'm the same way. I'm the caged bird that knows why it sings. And hopefully now you know too.